God bless you, loved ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we'll continue study in the 14th chapter of the book of Numbers. In our last study, we read down to verse 19. Today we began reading at verse 20 and hopefully get to the conclusion of the chapter. Let me thank you for your patience. I know that it's been some time since we broadcast, and I have legitimate reasons for not being able to broadcast, but I do thank God for your patience. I'm going to do all that I can to continue this study, but I need your prayers and I need your encouragement so that God will get the glory out of all that we do. I really know that I can't do this alone and can't do it by myself, but I need your help and I need your prayers, and I ask that you just send me an encouraging word sometime, or just press that like button, or however you want to communicate with me. You can always write me a letter. I'll give contact information at the conclusion of this particular study, and you can write me a letter, or you can email me. I'll give that information also at the conclusion. So just get a hold of me and let me know that you're watching, and this ministry is a blessing to you. I'm a human like everyone else, and I need encouragement. Well, God is doing so many wonderful things through our lives, and I do thank God for him. He's wonderful, and I have great testimonies that I'm going to share with you at a later date. All that God is doing, I think, well, I know that God is on my side, and he's doing so many wonderful things that I can't just take in this setting and tell you everything that he's doing. But one day I'll give you a report of all that God is doing through this ministry. Please pray for us that God will get the glory out of all that we do. Now, in our last setting, we talked from the first part of the book of Numbers, chapter 14, and we have to get this picture so we'll know what we're going into as we read the latter part of this chapter. The children of Israel had angered the Lord, and in fact, they angered him to the point that God wanted to wipe them completely out. And God's man named Moses stood up and was pleading the cause of the children of Israel and asking God not to blot them out. And the Lord did hear Moses, but yet God was angry at the children of Israel. Why was he angry? Because, number one, the children of Israel, they had seen all of the wondrous works that he had done, even bringing them out of Egypt, and all the way through their travels, he supplied their needs and worked miracle after miracle in bringing them through the Red Sea and giving them meat to eat and so many other things. And then when the spies went into the land to see what the land would be about, and 10 of them brought back a negative report, the people, they hadn't seen anything with their own eyes. They just heard a report of 10 men coming back and said the men are big there, and yes, there's plenty of vegetation in the land. There's fruit in the land. There is a lot of cows where the milk flows, and the vegetation and all of the things that it takes, the flowers that bring forth bees, that bring forth honey, and all of these things. They brought back the report, but yet they brought back the report that the men there were large, and they were many in number, and the children of Israel feared instead of them trusting the true and living God, and they made God angry. And God just point blank told Moses, I'll just wipe them completely off the face of the earth. And Moses pleaded their cause and said, how would that look now? You brought these folks up out of the land of Egypt, and then you're going to let them be destroyed out here in the wilderness, or destroy them yourself in the wilderness. What kind of testimony is that? Is what Moses and how he pleaded with the Lord. And the Lord talked to Moses. We'll begin our reading today at verse 20. And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. In other words, Moses, I hear you. I've pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Now, that's a good thing now, but you gotta understand, the glory of the Lord dwelt with the children of Israel. He was there with them. and dwelt with them. They saw his glory. But here, after they angered the Lord, but truly, in verse 21, but as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. In other words, God is saying, I am not going to corner it off to just one nation. I'm not going to corner it off to just one group of people, all of the earth. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men who have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not hearkened unto my voice. These that heard me, those that seen all of the miraculous works that I've done. Now let's read in verse 23. Surely they shall not see the land which I swore to give unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. Now, what are you talking about? There's a promise to be kept, and God is keeping his promise. But yet he was angry, and many of them, he just put it point blank, these that murmured so, these that saw my work and saw the things that I've done, they will not enter into the promised land. Let's read it again in 23. Surely they shall not see the land which I swore to give unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and have followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Caleb, you got to understand, there's a whole lot of people left Egypt. A whole lot of people, thousands of people left Egypt. And here they are. All of them are not going to get to go in. Many of them are going to be cut off in the wilderness. This was the word of the Lord. But yet God was going to honor his promise that he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this people, their seed, he promised them this land that flowed with milk and honey. Let's read verse 25. And the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. In other words, these folks are over there waiting for you. Don't go over there. Don't go over there. Now, God told them not to go over there. Now, we're going to get some intelligence as we continue reading. He told them to get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation who murmur against me? I have heard the murmuring of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as he hath spoken in mine ear, so shall I do to you. God is saying, and Moses is letting them know what the Lord is going to do to them. Let's read in verse 28 one more time. Say unto them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as he has spoken in mine ear, so will I do to you. Verse 29, your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness. I'll read that again. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all who were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upwards, who have murmured against me. In other words, now there's going to be the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are going into the land that God had promised them. But all of those that came out of Egypt, they murmured against the Lord, and they vexed the Spirit of the Lord, and vexed Moses. And we read about it in the first part of this chapter. They wanted to stone Moses and Aaron. They wanted to kill them. And God rose up against them. And here God he's already pronounced his judgment. The folks 20 years old and under will go into the promised land. The folks that were over 20 years old, they would not go into the promised land. Now, why you gonna get mad at God? You're the one vexed him on through the wilderness. In verse 30, doubtless ye shall not come into the land concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, except Caleb and the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Everybody else, all of you that started out, you won't get to go in. Now let's read verse 31. But your little ones, whom ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which I have despised. Well, the young ones will get to go in. Now, all you middle-aged folks, now he said from 20 years old and upward wouldn't get to go in. Now that covers a whole lot of people now. 20 years old and upward, you're talking about all of the what we would call young adults, and then the middle-aged folks and the older folks, all you that murmured so against the Lord, all of you that did all of these things to vex the Spirit of the Lord, you will not get to go in. Let me read 31 again. But your little ones, whom ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. Verse 32, but as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness. He's talking about everybody from 20 years old and upwards. Then everybody from 20 years old and downward. Well, they would not fall in the wilderness. Let's read first verse 33, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your harlotries until your carcass be wasted in the wilderness. They'll wander in the land 40 years. To all you old heads that did all of that arguing and all of that bickering and all of that, all of the negative talk, all of these things, we're going to give you plenty of time to die out now. They'll wander in the wilderness for 40 years and bear the harlotries until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. Let's read 34. After the number of days in which ye search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. You shall know my breach of promise. What are you talking about? Yes, the Lord fulfilled his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? Because the young ones, they got to go in. They went into the promised land that was promised them. But yet to those that started out, who thought they were going to get to go in, but because of their own murmuring and all of their own bickering, they did not get to go in. Now let's read verse 35. I, the Lord, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation who are gathered together against me in this wilderness. They shall be consumed, and there they shall die. Can't make it any plainer than that, can I? They'll die in that wilderness. Verse 36, and the men whom Moses sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing a slander upon the land. They brought back a negative report. They brought a slander upon the land. Instead of talking about how great our God is, they were talking about how big the people were there and what they had to fear, and caused all the people to murmur and want to stand out and kill Moses and Aaron. You have to get the whole picture here. God does not like us murmuring and bickering. He wants us to have faith faith in him and know that he will bring us through any situation that comes up in our life. Well, Caleb had that attitude. We're well able to take this land. Joshua had that attitude. Yes, we can do it. But yet, you got to get the picture. Those 10 men influenced the rest of the people and caused many of them to die in the wilderness and not receive the promise in which God gave them. Well, let's read verse 37. Even those men who did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plagues before the Lord. But Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Zephaniah, who were of the men who went to search the land, live still. In other words, of those 12 men sent down to spy out the land, only 2 of them lived. The rest of them had a negative report. But those men who spoke in faith and stood for the promises of God and the power of God, they were kept alive, being Joshua and Caleb. Let me read hurriedly. I know my time is rapidly moving on. And Moses told these sayings unto the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. They cried. In other words, we've been out here all this time and we ain't going to get to go in. They cried. They should have been crying before they got to this point and trusted God. Maybe they would have been all right, but they chose to murmur. In verse 40, and they rose up early in the morning and went up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we are here and will go up into this place which the Lord hath promised, for we have sinned. Yes, you were right, you were sin. But yet God had pronounced what he was going to do. And when God nails it down, I don't care who it is, they can't pull that nail back up. And here, I'll read it again, verse 40. And they rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we are of the mountain, saying, Lo, we are here, and will go up into the place which the Lord had promised, for we have sinned. In other words, we just going to do it anyway. 41, and Moses said, Wherefore now do ye transgress the commandments of the Lord? But it shall not prosper. Go not up, for the Lord is not among you, that ye be not smitten before your enemies. In other words, don't do what you're about to do. God told you to go to the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Don't go over there. If you go over there, God is not with you. It's a dangerous thing to go places and do things when God is not with you. If you know God is not with you, you better find yourself a safe haven. You better run somewhere instead of trying to do a work for the Lord or trying to do something for the Lord when you know he's not with you. Verse 33, for the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and ye shall fall by the sword, because ye are turned away from the Lord. Therefore the Lord will not be with you. In other words, if you in a backslidden condition, you better watch yourself. You don't go and charge the enemy, because number one, God may not be with you. Make sure that the Lord is with you. When the Lord is with you, you will be a victor. But if the Lord is not with you, you will get yourself in trouble. Verse 44, and they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and Moses departed not out of the camp. In other words, God, the ark of the covenant did not go. Moses didn't go. They were going on their own, and they went up to fight a battle that they were not equipped for, and God's Spirit was not with them. In verse 45, and the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites who dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and routed them, even to Hormah. Get that picture. They were going to fight this battle. They were going to just go into the promised land anyway. God's Spirit was not with them. And without God's Spirit, you will lose the battle anyway. You got to understand, the people of God, that's what we depend on. We don't depend upon our intellect. We don't depend on our our ability and the strength that we have, we depend on the power of the living God. And if you know God is not with you, well, don't do anything. Sit down and be still. Why? Because if God is not with you, you can't win anyway. Well, my friends, I want you to know that I love you. I love you with the love of the Lord. If you